right. Hi, everyone. I'm Lexi Nauer. I'm the worldwide go-to-market lead for software at AWS, and I'm thrilled to be here today to be talking about adopting the SaaS mindset to drive growth. Now, the majority of my content you can all find publicly available through AWS resources, so I think the crux of the value of today's session is hearing from these guys, learning from customers who are living and breathing SaaS right now and actually going through the journey. So today I'm joined by John Lehman, Chief Architect of Fortra. I'm joined by Georg of Phrase, CEO of Phrase, and Grisha Pavlovsky, CTO of Miro. And my goal for today's session is that you leave feeling inspired to take one of three actions. One, build a business case to get started on your SaaS journey. Two, maybe the stories shared today resonate and inspire you to get unstuck. Or three, maybe it inspires you to continue to iterate and expand on your existing SaaS offering to not only better serve your customers, but maybe acquire new customers. So with that, let's talk about SaaS. Oh, and I have to click it myself. All right. All right. So today, SaaS powers almost every part of our lives. And just to make it real, I'll share a few examples. It powers the news we read, the podcasts you listen to, and even your workout before work. It organizes our teams, it helps inform decision-making, it streamlines support, and even ensures you get paid. It inspires creativity, allows your dreams to come to reality, and allows you to express yourself. It helps you imagine your dream vacation and turn it into a reality. It allows you to manage your finances, get to where you need to go, and puts food on the table. And at the end of the day, it allows you to wind down and relax. So a little cheesy, but it makes it real, right? Like you're constantly engaging with SaaS in your everyday life, and the most successful businesses operate this way. SaaS has revolutionized the way companies operate, how they serve their customers, and even how they grow. SaaS is the modern way of operating. So I always think it's a good idea to start with a baseline definition. Like we all talk about SaaS, but it is software as a service. What does that mean? It's not only a delivery mechanism, but it's actually an operational model. It's imperative for every corner of your organization to be aligned and have a shared mindset. And that was really the inspiration of the title for today. At AWS, we like to think of it as a mindset because it's so important that everyone from marketing to sales to finance to legal to product engineering, everyone has a common understanding of how you best serve your customers and deliver your product. It's built on the principles of agility and operational efficiency, and that's why it's here to stay. So since 2020 to 2023, we've seen adoption increase by 40%. So that's 80 apps to 112. And you can see that's mirrored in spending trends. IT organizations are consistently investing more in SaaS, and you can see the opportunity in the numbers on the slide. So it's not a passing trend. It's simple to manage, easy to adopt, and with pricing, and it's constantly improving. Let me see if I can get this clicker working. All right, so I mentioned this at the beginning of the session, but these are really my three goals for today. I hope you leave feeling inspired to either build that business case, get unstuck, or continue to iterate and expand. So let's start with the business case. There we go. So what's in it for you? What are the benefits? Why should you go with SaaS? For one, the most compelling reason is higher margins and lower operating costs. So historically, software development is really expensive in R&D. You're managing multiple tech stacks and software iterations and hardware platforms. Now you're focused on managing a single centralized app in the cloud rather than supporting multiple versions. And data from our partners really puts the financial benefits into perspective with the increase or improvement in margins. All right, this one your CFO, board, or investors love. It's predictable recurring revenue. So being able to more accurately forecast your revenue is invaluable. It also creates more opportunity for expansion within accounts and for long-term revenue opportunity. It also drives better behaviors, right? Your sales team is less focused on maximizing that initial contract value and spending more time going deeper and nurturing your accounts for longer term growth. Which leads us to higher customer lifetime value. So SaaS companies tend to have lower churn and higher renewal, which is great. They also tend to be much stickier. Once your company has ingested a software service and you get comfortable and it's in all your workflows, you tend to keep it, and that renewal cycle becomes much more easily. Faster innovation and time to market. You're now able to create version updates and add new features much more seamlessly with a single push, and you can see the ability to decrease that time from 18 to 24 months down to 12 months. And even more importantly, your time to usage, not just developing an MVP, but actually getting your product in the hands of customers. So one that I'm particularly fond of is the ability for global reach and ability to scale. You're global from day one. And if you really think about it, anyone that has an internet connection will have access to your product. So that's really powerful. And in working with a lot of different customers, you'll see they'll have adoption from customers opportunistically in regions or geographies they never would have dreamed they'd have demand in. And if for some reason your product, for performance reasons, compliance, or regulation, you're not able to operate globally from day one, you're able to go global much faster, from months to weeks. Now, I've talked a little bit about the SaaS mindset, but what exactly does that mean? What internal changes do you really need to make? Well, it starts with leadership alignment. You need a unified vision that becomes your North Star. And you need clear communication, strategy, because it ultimately affects everything from product roadmaps, your organizational structure, your marketing approaches, pricing models. It's really important to have leadership alignment from the jump. Next, something we talk about a lot at Amazon, which is product differentiation. Working backwards from the customer to identify pain points, unique value propositions, how to best serve them, and ultimately let them have a unique value proposition. And this is something that needs to be constantly revisited. So even if you're a first mover and you have a dominant market position, it's important to constantly be getting customer feedback. And something unique about SaaS is that you're able to collect usage and customer data and use that to further improve your product. Dedicated teams. So this is a recommendation at AWS. It's very valuable to have two separate teams to really think through what's best from the customer and work backwards. So one team to focus on migrating existing customers to SaaS, thinking through what's their existing experience, what's going to incentivize them to go to SaaS, how long are we going to support the legacy solution before we sunset it. And then likewise, how are you going to acquire net new users? SaaS opens up a whole host of different go-to-market routes. So is there a freemium model that you may want to introduce? Are you going to experiment with product-led growth and eventually transition to enterprise? These are all considerations, and it's important to have teams that manage them and think through them holistically. And AWS has resources for both of these approaches, not only templates, but even funding to help migrate your users from your on-prem solution to SaaS. And one that's near and dear to my heart, being in a go-to-market role, is the opportunity for new go-to-market approaches. You open a whole host of opportunities, starting with that freemium model, consumption-based pricing, even introducing channels. So when you're working with partners, it's really important to get your sales team aligned, introducing new compensation structures, new incentive plans, and really thinking through what that looks like from a new go-to-market perspective. And then finally, and most importantly, it's all about setting expectations. There is a chance that you may not migrate all your users. You may lose some customers. But what really matters is that you're retaining the customers that maximize your ROI. And I can speak from experience. I used to work at a media and entertainment company, software company, and we addressed broadcasters, streaming services, and publishers. And publishers were very expensive. They had really demanding feature requirements, and we were not seeing the ROI. So eventually, we had to make the difficult strategic decision to really pivot and focus on those high ROI customers and moving those publishers to product-led growth. So typically what we see at AWS is we have customers that fall into one of two camps. We have transformational, so established businesses who are migrating from on-premise to the cloud or launching a net new product in the cloud. And then we also have our cloud-native customers, which we call continuous innovation, who are doing just that, innovating their existing SaaS offering and growing it. So here are a couple of characteristics of those transformational customers. I'll call out a few if you want to read them on the slide, but what I find interesting and what's great about transformational companies is they tend to be really customer obsessed. They're very much product driven. They go deep on the product, and sometimes they have fully bespoke solutions since they're managing so many different versions of their product. Similarly, they really go deep and have high touch engagements from a service, sales, and customer service perspective. They're able to go deep in those customer engagements. But then it becomes an uphill battle when you're trying to scale. So someone that's actively going through this transformation right now is John Lehman, Chief Architect at Fortra. I'm going to bring him on now to share his story. There you go. You just click the green button.
Very good. Is this thing on? There we go. Hello, everybody. All right, so yeah, John Lehman. I am Chief Architect at Fortra. So at Fortra, I lead a team of just brilliant architects. We've had to work for the last 5 years to kind of, and we'll talk about this in detail, kind of merge multiple SaaS platforms. This team of architects sets the technology direction. We're going to talk about that. And it really kind of, a little bit about my history. I've been in cybersecurity for about 20 years. Last 10 years focused on SaaS technology transformations and specifically in the cybersecurity arena. But here at Fortra, we've gone through, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, just an amazing transformation over the last 5 years that involves multiple SaaS platforms. Kind of a little bit more about Fortra. Pure cybersecurity player. We're all over the world. We have about 30,000 customers, a little over 30,000 customers. As part of our transformation in cybersecurity, we've taken on just hundreds of, and we'll talk about the M&A we've gone through, just a huge group of threat researchers, eyes on glass, hands on keyboard folks that are on top of the SaaS technology itself, providing a managed service. So a few examples of the managed services: XDR, email security, specifically phishing protection, and we have a managed data loss prevention offering as well. So on top of the SaaS technology and the business model Lexi was talking about, there's always the option to have a managed service as well, where we're constantly updating configurations and rules. And in cybersecurity, that works really well because you're constantly fighting the bad guys, right? And so I mentioned, and I'm hinting at this M&A that we've gone through, part of our vision is to bring all of that together into a unified platform. So it's kind of a SaaS of SaaSes in a way. It's almost like SaaS inception a little bit. So a little bit more about Fortra. Before the transformation occurred started about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, this company was really purely IT services. It had a lot of on-prem kind of perpetual licenses, some maintenance, a little bit of ARR there maybe, but over the last 5 years took a hard turn into cybersecurity. And that, of course, results in disparate architectures, technology stacks, all the stuff Lexi was talking about earlier. And it kind of runs the gamut. We'd have some companies that were always pure SaaS, some that were a mix, offered on-prem and SaaS products, and then, of course, just the pure on-prem players that we wanted to convert to SaaS. So kind of the big picture here is, this is a company undergoing a transformation from, generally speaking, perpetual license models, on-prem software, having acquired numerous SaaS offerings, now transforming into a pure SaaS cybersecurity player, and all the while bringing it all together into one unified platform. So no big deal, right? Not a huge task. Little sarcasm there for your Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? One of the critical things to think about, of course, is, well, why are we going to SaaS? I mean, do customers really want this? I mean, this is going to be something you'll have to think about, and there's introspection there a little, but there's a lot of talking to customers, right? So some of the feedback we've gotten from our customers a lot of them, yeah, they want cloud, but not necessarily completely cloud, especially in cybersecurity, things like data protection. They might want those captured files to be kept within the confines of their network or within some self-hosted aspect of their network. And others are like, oh yeah, we're going full cloud, nothing but cloud. That's not a huge segment. And then of course, there's always a segment of your customer base that will be averse to cloud. 3-letter organizations might fall into this category. There's always GovCloud options and other things for, and there's, of course, AWS has a terrific sovereign cloud assistance program that they can provide. So there are other options for customers who are averse to cloud, but we do have a segment of customers that just are not interested. And some of the cybersecurity offerings we provide, we're like, okay, we'll meet you where you are. And that's really what Fortra has done. We've said, we have some competitors that, nope, we're pure cloud. Well, what Fortra has said is, let's listen to our customers, and if they want to be on-prem for any reason, let's understand that. Let's understand the reasons. It might mean that we provide a hybrid solution. Some aspects of what they're running could be in the cloud, some on-prem. So that's really where we are. We're meeting the customer where they want to be for the reasons that they provide. And it's just critical to listen and always be asking why, and help and get that information from the customer. What is it that you're looking for from a SaaS offering? Now, I mentioned Fortra had multiple acquisitions over the last 5 years, and a lot of them were SaaS already, some were transitioning to SaaS. So I'm going to mention Golden Path here. This is something that I shamelessly stole from, I think originally Spotify. There were other companies that certainly are more that do it now, but this is essentially, as a technology leader in a company, you want to set a strategy and provide a set of tools and technology stack and a common technology stack for those teams that are being brought on board. So you can say, look, if you conform to the standards that we're setting out here, we're going to have a set of tools for you. It's going to be really easy to deploy. If you want a document database, we've got one for you with, data encryption at rest and, fault tolerance and all this beautiful stuff ready to go for you. And you can concentrate on your application tier, right? As opposed to trying to dictate, thou shalt write all your code in one of these 3 languages and walk away and drop the mic. It's like, yeah, we have those kinds of standards at Fortra. We want to have some semblance of consistency with the languages that we're writing in and the technologies we're using, the databases we're using. But it's not just an edict. It's not just saying, thou shalt do this. It's saying, by the way, we have all these tools for you. We have libraries, shared libraries. We have an entire CI/CD process that can deploy your cloud platform with infrastructure. If you want an event, if you have an event-driven architecture, we have Kafka for you, ready to go with MTLS authentication and all kinds of cool stuff, right? This is the product side, the technology side, providing this, which kind of offers a center of gravity. Our acquired products then start to conform more and more over time, incrementally. This is really the Golden Path. I talk about it in a lot of meetings, even outside of the technology group, because you could think of it as really something that could be applied across the entire business. Your CRM system, right? You want to have common patterns for that. You want to make it as easy as possible to onboard if you're acquiring a company. So we really developed this system that makes it much easier to bring in new products. So down the road, this includes other things like a common data model. OCSF, we've based our data model on OCSF. So down the road, as we acquire other companies, we've got this, on the rails system that will allow us to incorporate their technology much more easily. There's a mention of documented processes, but ultimately that's critical to have training materials and things, but it's also critical to provide built frameworks for teams. So you're not just telling them what to do, but you're saying, look, let's have a conversation. We have a set of supported technologies. If you conform, yes, you're an autonomous team and that's great, but you need to conform because we're going to save you all this work. You'll be able to concentrate on providing value to your customers, to our customers. Another thing I'm just going to provide as a shout out here is one of many architectural patterns that I've used in the transitioning the product side, the technology side. the strangler pattern. It's just one of a lot of techniques that can be used, but the great thing about it is it's very incremental. Picture taking a monolith, right, an enterprise architecture, and saying, okay, we want to bring it to cloud. We're going to start by hosting it in the cloud, but taking pieces of it out and refactoring those pieces as cloud-native, microservice, multi-tenant architecture, right? That has to be done in a very particular way. Well, what parts are we going to turn into microservices? Are they even microservices? I mean, I take the word microservice, lightly. I think people can overdo microservices. I won't get on my high horse about that, but a service-oriented approach and proper cloud-native patterns to ensure scalability and fault tolerance, right? But do it incrementally. Take the monolith, respect the monolith, it's production-proven code, and incrementally reduce it, replacing it with cloud-native equivalents. This allows you to keep the ship afloat without having to go dark for 2 years and rebuilding an entire application stack, right? We have millions and millions of lines of code. You can't just take an on-prem complex product that's been out there for 15 years. We're gonna go refactor it for the cloud. That's not a one-step operation, right? So that's what I love about the strangler pattern. It just really highlights the incremental nature to the transformation on the product side. So just to leave you with a few lessons learned here. Again, this is very technology-centric. I think we have some other folks that are gonna be talking about some of the other things Lexi mentioned earlier. She made some great points about making sure this is something that is honored kind of across the entire business. Making sure everybody's ready to commit to a SaaS strategy is critical. That seems really obvious. Of course they should be ready to commit. Yeah, but what you don't want is, you're gonna have folks who are much more comfortable selling the on-prem solution. They have to be brought along for the ride, right? If you're going to SaaS, there's training involved. They have to understand the capabilities they're gonna be offered. They have to understand how to talk to a customer in a setting where you're gonna be looking to get a subscription out of this customer as opposed to a perpetual license. And of course, we mentioned this earlier, giving customers a compelling reason to move to SaaS is critical. That's gonna be specific to your product. I can't really say what that would be. In cybersecurity, it's things like just a more robust reporting and analytics experience, for example. Very hard to achieve in an on-prem kind of monolithic type architecture. Plan for long-term scalability. I mean, if you're going to SaaS, what I like to say is just think about 5,000 customers deployed in your cloud. How would that scale? How does that look? I like the number 5,000. I don't know why. It just kind of evokes these thoughts that, oh my gosh, if we were at 5,000 customers, it would mean our operational process is way too expensive. It would require an army of people to monitor this thing, right? This is where something like the strangler pattern, you can start addressing those types of issues. Say, well, this part of the application is more prone to problems. Let's focus on that first if we're going to refactor for the cloud. Let it guide the process. And then just make sure that you sell what's on the truck. Some of my favorite account reps in history are folks that really understand, especially during a time of transition, transformation, keep the lines of communication open. It's more critical than ever. Things are changing, month to month. Make sure we're being accurate in what we're saying to customers and we're not promising something that isn't going to happen for 2 years, right? Seems simple, but it's a common pitfall that I've seen. Anyway, that was my little song and dance. I think I'm done. There you go, Lexi.
John.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, John. Yeah, what I love about the Fortress story is it really acknowledges the reality of inorganic growth and that you need to have those frameworks and documentation in place as you do expand inorganically and acquire new businesses. And that's valuable even if you're doing direct growth. So thanks for sharing, John. I think that was a really unique perspective. So moving from transformational to continuous innovation, these are companies that are cloud-based, data-driven, very agile, likely started with product-led growth and are moving up into the enterprise. So these are very service-driven. They're focused on really looking at every touch point of the customer journey. And as I mentioned, they likely have started with product-led growth and need to work their way up the stack and understand if they haven't meaningful number of users until that raises flags for the CFO, right? And understanding how to influence a direct sales-driven model. And we have 2 companies coming up to kind of share their journey on how they've grown as continuous innovation SaaS companies, starting with Phrase. So I'm going to introduce Georg L. of Phrase to share his story. There you go.
Hi, everybody, and thank you very much for having us here. So I'm Georg, I'm the CEO at Phrase. Phrase is a language technology platform. We help many of the largest companies in the world to localize their content. That could be their website, their apps, or their product or marketing materials. You see a bunch of brands up there. There's a ton more that we're not allowed to put on the slides, but the biggest West Coast tech companies you have all been consumers of, either at work or at home or at play, the companies that localize their content on our platform. It's all software, it's all SaaS, born in the cloud. There's no human services, so we do a lot with workflow, with quality assessment, with machine translation, both old school neural machine translation and more modern large language models as well. And we aggregate those as well as building some of our own. Our journey started 12 to 14 years ago, really focused on one component of the industry. So translation or localization is an industry with thousands of years of history, one of the oldest in the world. And for the last 5,000 years, it's been a predominantly human-delivered service. Today, we estimate the market sizing of localization or language technology and services to be about $30 billion, and the majority of that is still delivered by humans. Maybe 2 to 3 billion is software. So we started out at our company of servicing the software needs of these language service providers, the professional services agencies that were doing that work. But what we saw about 5 or 6 years, or 7 or 8 years ago, was that enterprises started to want to own the technology themselves. They were building their language assets, building their translation memories, it's called, their glossaries, their terminology, so that they would own that intellectual property. And then the industry shifted from one where enterprises outsourced all of this work to one where they wanted to control that and then work with a panel of different professional services organizations. So we were able, based on being a SaaS business that was highly iterative in our software development approach and all of the things you've heard about already, to shift our business model to service both enterprises and the language service providers. And then that's allowed us to grow our focus on the enterprise and therefore do larger deals and shift from 5 to 6 to 7-figure deal sizes. I've pressed the wrong button, sorry. So, if there's one word to take away from my few minutes on the stage here, it's this concept of adoption. And that SaaS, as Lexi said, is really a mindset as much as a delivery method or a go-to-market. There's a culture that you build around SaaS, about recurring revenue. So for example, as we moved from selling individual products to more of a platform type approach, and I'll talk more about that in a moment, we started to build more integrated capabilities. So connecting software when it was used by professional services agencies with the same software from us that was being used by the enterprise so that they could have transparent pipelines between the two of them. The single platform approach was a shift for us from selling multiple products, which has a number of consequences, and again, I'll talk a bit more about it, but this sort of realization dawned on us that we had major enterprise customers, like a famous West Coast CRM company that really pioneered the use of the cloud. They had bought a product from us, and then they bought some workflow tools, and then they wanted to round-trip their content through products B and C, but they didn't own those yet. So they came to us and they said, this is a pain because we need to go through multiple procurement cycles. And we had the idea to instead start to sell a single base platform in which you get all of the capabilities so that there's no more cross-sell, everything just becomes upsell. The other thing that's interesting about being a SaaS provider and the sort of culture and mindset of this is that every year we have 1 or 2 customers that seriously push our boundaries, either in sort of volume or latency or some other capability. And I can name the customer for 2022, for 2023, for 2024. And there's a high watermark principle that means that when we've made the improvements that we're driven to by this marquee customer, that, by the nature of SaaS, then elevates our solution for all of our customers, both the existing ones and the new ones as well. So there's an example of a major travel site where they do very high volume user-generated content in the reviews, and we won the workload from Google to do all of the translation of that on our platform. So the platform approach has another important consequence, and this is going to market as part of an ecosystem. So we recognize that we're very much not the alpha and omega of all of the needs of our customer just inside one platform, but actually our customer has language service providers. Our customers have their own technology that they build or other technologies that they acquire that they see value in. And by having an open kind of mindset around being a platform rather than selling a product, we've developed a real culture internally of thinking ecosystem first. What are the APIs that we can open up so that partners can build businesses on our platform? So we take the kind of classic story of we make $1, they make $5, $10, and we're happy with that outcome. That's what we want to drive. The customer loves this too because we can say to them, look, you're in the center of our universe, but we're here for your success. And so that is us calling, me picking up the phone to my CEO counterparts at the partners. How can we work together for the customer's best interests? So with that, I'll talk a bit about the pricing and packaging. Selling AI is hard because the providers don't really know what their costs are going to be over the next 2 to 3 years because the foundational models are changing their cost structures all the time. And the buyers don't really know what the value is going to be because this whole space is moving so incredibly quickly. So you've got a sort of problem at both ends of that. So the model that we adopted, first of all, we brought in outside consultants. We worked for 6 months tirelessly at it. It was a full company effort, product engineering, finance, marketing, sales, customer success, all collaborating on it. Did a ton of, as you can imagine, competitive research. And then we came up with this single base layer platform approach and then various metrics on top of which you can buy upsell capacities. So again, no more cross-sell. The customer gets access to all of our technologies. They can experiment to get meaningful value before then buying the additional capacity they need once proven. Enterprise customers love that model, and it gives us a lot of flexibility to design something around their requirements as well. As we did it, we built in a lot of flexibility to be able to shift sort of volumes around and to be able to adapt it based on the feedback that we got. And there was a lot of cohorting of customers. We rolled it out in a lot of stages, starting with new business, then moving back to historic customers by cohort. So each time we did it, when we learned something, we were able to adjust on the fly. So results, we've driven much more value-based pricing. We've significantly increased our average selling price in the enterprise. Customers are starting to adopt and upsell themselves effectively. And our whole mindset as a business is very adoption, ecosystem. And if we get those two things right, then our own success follows. Through all of that change, churn has remained completely stable on a dollar basis, so it's actually gone down as a percentage, whilst maintaining strong growth and very strong gross revenue retention as well. So with that, sort of 3 quick lessons. One is it's a culture, it's a mindset. With traditional kind of software sales, often you sort of ring the bell as the deal is done and you think, job done. Well, with SaaS and recurring revenue, actually the work begins the day the contract is signed and you're in renewals from the day you sign the contract. Second thing is being very, very data driven because you can get tremendous usage metrics down to every individual click. I'm sure the folks at Miro know a ton about this. And so you can start to build really good data-driven success metrics and success plans. Which customers are healthy? Which ones are trending up, trending down? What are the proactive motions you can put in place? And then the final thing is expanding your business with partners and really putting their interests first. So my question to my channel team is often not which partners have brought us the most business, but what business have we brought to them? And if we lean in, we know that in time we build trust and a relationship that then means they lean into. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks, Georg. I really appreciated you kind of walking through the challenges of a growing product portfolio and how to manage those both with cross-sell and upsell. And I loved what you had to say about really latching onto some marquee customers and having them uplift your product and service because that'll ultimately lift up your other customers. And I can very much align to my own experience with the publishers, so thanks for sharing. So now we're going to move on to Grisha to share a little bit more about Miro's experience. There you go.
Hi, I'm Grisha from Miro. The benefit of going last is I get to completely change my talk track because now I need to build on the two previous speakers, and big, huge +1 to Georg. Everything he said resonates a lot. And I really love the format of one key takeaway word from the presentation. For my presentation, it's not on the slides, but my presentation key takeaway word would be the culture of experimentation. So, and then I'll try to weave that into my presentation. But big +1 to the platform vision. If you're building a SaaS product, think about multi-SKU, multi-product vision, how you're going to build that in the future. There are beautiful examples of platforms. HubSpot is our role model of how they've done it really well. And I also really love from Georg's presentation is value first, monetization second. That doesn't come naturally especially if your board is not very aligned with the management team and you might be pushed into monetizing your user base too fast. But it is a big cultural mental model that you as a leadership team will need to adopt is, when do you start monetizing the value? But at Miro, we've always thought that if you do the right things will come. So we never focused on revenue. We always focused on delivering value to our users, and then revenue came as a consequence. Before I dive into my slides, how many of you know what Miro is? Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, cool, awesome. So that's good. So I'm not a technical person. I'm more about the business. And my goal of the presentation would be inspire about the SaaS and hopefully share with you if you get the business model right, what it may look like. And the spoiler, it's really, really cool if you get it right. It looks really cool. So Miro, you know who we are, but just as a matter of a background, our mission is to empower teams to create the next big thing. So the company is 13 years old. We started in 2011. For 13 years, the mission was the same. And that mission is not just the words on the wall. It actually is the guiding principle, how we build product roadmap, how we prioritize. So the mission is based on teams. So it's a platform for collaboration. It's not for individual use cases. So everything that you find in the platform is optimized for collaboration on the teams. And the second thing is next big thing. It's another word for innovation, but basically the idea is the platform is built for teams. For what end? So the teams can go from idea to outcome as fast as possible. That's basically our mission. So it's designed for a new world of distributed collaborative work. We recognize that innovation is a highly human and highly collaborative and cross-functional process. Especially in large organizations, very siloed, very broken. So the platform is built to bring teams together. It's specifically, right now we're focusing on teams that are building digital products and services, so it's what we call digital R&D. There are a bunch of use cases in marketing and sales and HR, but our core audience are EPD folks that are building digital product and services. And again, the goal is to help teams to go deliver time to market of their ideas of their products as fast as possible, but not only time to market, but also time to value. We also believe that the speed of iteration is a precursor or a leading indicator to you finding product market fit. So if we can allow teams to spin the wheel of discover, define, deliver as much as possible in a given period of time, then the likelihood of the product development team finding product market fit will be highest. So like I said, we're 13 years old. In our 13 years, we went through three iterations. Like right now, we're in our what we call chapter 3. So in 2011, our founder started with a very simple premise. What happens if I bring the whiteboard to the browser? That's how we created online whiteboarding platform. By 2016, 2017, we noticed that the users in the platform are not just whiteboarding, they're actually working together to solve something, they're collaborating, and we doubled down on collaborative features of the platform, and we coined this category of visual collaboration. In 2017, we were explaining to people what visual collaboration is. People thought it was like Zoom or Skype type product, and we're like, no, it's different. It was super expensive to explain. And then COVID happened, and COVID saved us like hundreds of millions of dollars of marketing money. Then we didn't have to explain what visual collaboration is, and I'll show you the slide what happened during COVID. And in this year, we reimagined ourselves. We're reopening a new chapter of our life, and this is AI-enabled, what we call innovation workspace. So now you have docs and tables and prototyping tools and diagramming everything on Miro, and all that is AI enabled. Pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to be focusing on the business model. I'm going to go off script, by the way. Between the time I prepared the slide and between now I'm on the stage, I had a bunch of other ideas. So I'll talk to you about the choices of business model. So you probably know what product-led growth model is, and there's a sales growth, and there's marketing growth, right? So originally, we came from a place that most of us will not find on the map. We didn't have access to capital. So one of the philosophical principles we chose from day one was we're going to build a business model where we don't have to depend on external capital. So whatever business model we bring, it has to be self-sufficient. It should be not capital intensive, and it should be bringing enough revenue to pay for our costs. So the business Miro, last round we raised at $17 billion, and we've never burned cash. Never burned cash. It was always cash neutral, except one stupid year when we invested a lot of money in brand campaign, which was one of the biggest mistakes ever. So that year we burned cash, but it wasn't part of the operating model, right? On a day-to-day basis, this is a cash profitable business. Another business choice that we've made is some companies build product-led growth and then sales growth models as two separate funnels. In Miro, it's one seamless funnel. And this is the beauty of this business model. We start with, it's a freemium model. So users land on the page through organic channels. We don't pay for traffic. Most of our users come through SEO or virality or through other, or through community-led growth. So it's a very wide top of the funnel. By the time users land in the product, we know where the users came from and what their intent is. So we optimize for their first session. Our idea is to lead that user, and by the way, that's a free user, right? So the users come through SEO, through virality, they land in product. Through years, we've optimized the funnel in such a way as to lead that user to what we call aha moment as quickly as possible. So like our job was to optimize the first session experience where a user that lands in the product, in 2 or 3 clicks, they need to discover value. And this, going back to Georg's point, is the lead time between the user landing in product and the user saying, I love my experience, should be 2 or 3 clicks. Right? And this is a lot of work in data experimentation and see how it works. So first is aha moment where people discover value. The second important milestone is what we call habit forming moment. So we, again, through 13 years of data experimentation, we've discovered what is it that creates the habit forming moment when the user is unlikely to churn. The third important point in the user journey is when we lead the user to what we call a virality moment. So when the user starts inviting other people. By nature, it's a collaboration platform, so it's by nature is very prone for virality. Okay, and then so the user lands in the product, gets to aha moment, value recognition, then forms the habit, invites other people come to the product, they love their experience. They collaborate with an inviting person, but they also then go set up their own teams, right? And that's how the product basically virally grows. And then within the organization, basically what you have ultimately is one team, another team, another team, another team, and then there's a certain point at which a sales development representative would reach a point where, okay, there are multiple teams under the same organization. This is where SDRs reach out and sell. So it's, I was trying to say, so it's freemium model. Users land in product for free. They can actually, the users can stay in product in the free model for as long as possible. But then there's you play with gating certain features. You lead the users to the point where users start paying with a credit card. Then they can stay with the credit card plans for as long as possible. But once there is a sufficient amount of teams, self-service teams under the same umbrella of the organization, this is when we try to lead teams to the enterprise upgrade motion. So, and this is the first moment in the in a team journey when the salesperson, a human person, touches the account. Our salespeople never, never, never do cold outbound calls. They only sell to teams already using product. And that creates a very, very high LTV to CAC, ROI, whatever, unit economics. It's a beautiful business model. So you have a self-service free, self-service paid, new logo, human touch, and then expand and hopefully go on wall to wall. The beautiful part about SaaS is, and I think Lexi, you said that, big cultural norm at Miro is this culture of experimentation. Early on in our, when we were building the company, we made a deliberate choice to separate our growth team from our product team. So the product team is responsible for building stuff, for building and shipping features. Our growth team, their whole purpose is to work with the funnel and optimize every single point in the funnel. So the growth team has user acquisition, user activation, user retention, user monetization. And they run 7 to 10 experiments at any given point of time. Experiment can be anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 weeks. And they do like micro optimizations. 0.2% increase in activation, 0.2% increase in monetization. This is their outcome. So this is a growth team today. Our entire company is 1,600 people. Our growth team is about 150 people. And that's between product, engineering, analytics, and growth marketing. So if you want to take away anything from this presentation, the SaaS allows you to build this experimentation culture. At Miro, we always say, we do not scale anything until we know it works. So there's always like 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1. And only once we see in data that it gives us incremental benefit, only then we apply resources and we scale. How am I doing on time? Doing okay? Yeah, cool. Okay, so how we evolved. From the product vision perspective and strategy, we are quite opinionated. We believe in a canvas-based collaboration. We believe that teams that want to move from idea to solution definition to deliver as fast as possible, that is a very complex process. And if you think about like ideation stage, we think about it: discover, define, deliver. Those are the 3 stages. Discovery phase usually happens in this very unstructured canvas, spaghetti on the wall type, very weird stage of the work. And then teams start to converge on what the solution looks like and the definition, and that's very structured work. And then you go into delivery. If you don't use the canvas-based tool, you're forced to switch between tools, and you're moving work from tool to tool, and this is where you lose context and lose speed. We believe that innovation belongs on canvas. So we believe in canvas-based collaboration, and we shipped docs and tables and structured prototypes and diagrams on canvas, and now the teams can go through discover, define, deliver without leaving a single space, and this is all AI-enabled. That being said, so this is our vision. Our vision is that innovation belongs on canvas. That being said, we're very, very focused and obsessed about customers, right? So we're building for them. And again, through years of experimentation, we discovered that teams want to collaborate together, so the platform allows teams to bring their work to Canvas. We are not competing with other tools. We're very friendly with our tools. If somebody wants to work in Figma or Lucid or Asana or PowerPoint or Excel, we're allowed to bring this all onto Canvas. We have more than 150 integrations, more than 5,000 apps built on Canvas. So we want to meet our customers where they are. We're like, if you love your tools, great, bring this on Canvas, and this is where you're going to meet your cross-functional peers. We also discovered that teams want to innovate faster, right? So we brought a lot of AI capabilities on Canvas to help them to move from face-to-face faster. So this is our customer-driven and customer-obsessed pillar. And obviously, if you're building a SaaS tool, you can go in self-service world and product-led growth to up to 100 million, but eventually you'll have to go enterprise. You'll have to sell to the largest and most conservative organizations on this planet. And enterprise readiness, the bedrock of enterprise security, is not something that is optional, right? So you have to build that into your product strategy from day one. Okay, so as a result of all of those things, this is our growth. This is user growth. So as you can see, 2000, this is where the COVID happened. So we started COVID at about 5 million users, and then the growth just exploded. Yes, COVID gave us a tailwind of growth, but there are many, many other visual collaboration platforms on the market at that point of time. Why Miro exploded is because our obsession about users. We made the product so lovable by users. We removed as many frictions as possible from users adopting the product. It's super easy to sign up, to get your value and use as much as possible, right? So the entire funnel is built for removing the friction from every step of the journey as much as possible. So more than 80 million users, 230,000 organizations, 17 billion market cap at Series C. Very proud to be AWS partner. We're selling through Marketplace. Big fan of ecosystem. Georg, +1 to you on that. Very high NPS and adoption rate. I'm going to skip that slide. I'm going to go to this one. This one was a big, painful learning journey from us. So as you build, up until 2016, 2017, we were purely digital business. We only sold through website, through credit card. In 2016, 17, we started hiring salespeople because we needed to go to enterprise and start selling more complex deployments. Putting sales, sales function, which is driven by human beings, on top of your digital sales motion is not really that simple. It's much easier said than done. Human beings, salespeople, they're driven by commissions. Anywhere between 40 to 50% of their OTE is made out of commissions. They want to sell. They want to monetize. And this cultural norm, what we talked about earlier, is that as an organization, if you say, guys, my goal today is not to optimize for revenue. My goal to optimize for adoption or for usage. For salespeople, it's a very difficult concept to understand. Or when you say, I don't want to optimize for the size of the contracts or ACV, I want to size for the number of the contracts. That is a very difficult concept to explain. Back in 2018, when we just started scaling our sales organization, we noticed that our selling cycles have significantly increased by 60 or 70% based on what they were before. I flew to Los Angeles, I met with our salespeople, and I dug through the data, what's going on. What we noticed is that customers would come to us and say, we want to buy Miro, let's say 50 licenses, 100 licenses. And instead of selling them what customers want, our salespeople, obviously, they're driven by commissions, and commissions are a factor of revenue. They would go, no, you need 200 licenses. Let me sell you 300 licenses. So they would try to artificially explode the size of the contract, which significantly slowed down the sales cycle. And then I would go back to our head of sales and say, look, we need to change our compensation model. Our compensation model should be based not on the revenue, but number of logos we sell. You would not want to be in the room when I was trying to explain that to my head of sales. What do you mean? Our commission is based on revenue. I'm like, no. I understand why you want this, but it's not good for the business. For the business, this is land and expand business model. We need to land Miro, and Miro as a product will do its own job on the expansion. And this is what we talked earlier about the cultural alignment. You need to understand, if this is a land and expand business model, your salespeople need to understand that I'm not optimizing for the size of the initial land, right? But it's easier said than done. One thing you can explain, but then you have to operationalize that through the commission plan. And the way you operationalize it through a commission plan is you also let the salespeople own the account and get paid on the expansions afterwards. But tackling on the human touch sales organization on the top of digital sale is extremely difficult. There are so many things we got wrong, and to be honest, this is one of the things where we probably didn't ace. So I said earlier that we only scale after we understand how it works. This one is where we really got wrong, I think, because the COVID pushed us to scale our sales organization before we got really to perfect the details. So now we're going through our GTM transformation. I think I lost my train of thought. I dumped a bunch of things on you. I'm going to be around here somewhere. It's very difficult to compress 13 years of learnings into 6 to 7 minutes. But at the end of the day, what I want to leave with you is SaaS business model is fun. If you love geeking out with data, SaaS allows you to do that. SaaS allows you to experiment quickly. I'm around. If you want to learn, just find me. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Grisha. I think that was a great illustration of when we were talking about differentiation through experimentation. Constantly delighting users and creating sticky adoption is really important for that growth through SaaS. So coming back to my 3 things that hopefully you took away, we have associated AWS resources for all of them. One that's near and dear to my heart and that I'm going to give a special shout out to is the AWS Global Passport Program. If you have any interest in international expansion, we actually have a session coming up right after this, so stick around. We'll go a bit deeper on that. But otherwise, we have tons of resources to help you anywhere, any part of your SaaS journey, and we'd love to help you get started. So, parting thought, SaaS really is the difference between being relevant today and essential tomorrow, as you can see from some of these customers. And thank you so much for joining, and have a great rest of your conference. Thanks, everyone.